Hello everybody, it's May 10th, 2010. About a week ago we had two major news articles. One was the fact that there were three countries that added large amounts of gold to their central bank reserves. And another one was University of Texas Endowment Fund, which has $20 billion, taking $1 billion of that and getting physical gold to hold in their possession. Now, I'm sure a lot of you probably heard of those two bits of news. I just wanted to discuss them a little more in detail. The first one, the University of Texas, that's actually quite incredible, the fact that they're doing that. And it's a stepping stone for other endowments or other large fund managers to follow in their steps. There may be a lot of fund managers that manage billions of dollars for different universities or what have you, and would never take that step, because then they step out of the boundaries of of what the rest of the fund managers are doing. So if everything goes bad, they can say, well, this is just the industry standard, and this is just what all the fund managers are doing, so I'm following the herd. But when you step out of the herd and you go on your own, but like this whoever made the decision for the University of Texas, is really a true maverick, and they take off on their own, and so it leads a path for others to follow. So that could lead to a lot more money going into precious metals right there. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick was the central banks that have become net buyers of gold and have moved away from selling gold. Back when gold was 250 an ounce, they were selling a whole bunch, and now 1,500. Ever since like 900, they've been buying a bunch. So not that their timing is so great, but they see it a necessity to do what they're doing now. As a lot of countries hold dollars. There's so much paper everywhere, and I just wanted to discuss the fact that these countries, you see like a 200 metric tons of gold being bought by India by the IMF in June 2009, and then they've doubled in the last few years from 400 up to 811 metric tons of gold. Just to give you an idea what that is, it's 32,150 troy ounces is in 1 ton. So we're talking, 100 tons, 200 tons. It's a lot of gold. 2,200 pounds. A metric ton. Not a small U.S. ton is 2,000 pounds. So this is 2,204 pounds. So anyway, I wanted to put this in perspective because we're hearing about these countries buying large amounts. Well, they're really, the funny thing is, they're not really buying that large amounts, which is also a pretty incredible thing in itself, because they could still buy a whole lot more. After buying these large amounts, they still have a small percentage of their reserves in gold. And I have some statistics here that'll probably shock you. Mexico buying that 93.3 tons of gold. They only had 6.9. So now they've upped it to 100 tons. But even after buying 93 tons, they only have 3% of their reserves in gold now. That was over a $4 billion purchase. So that $4 billion takes them up to 3% of their reserves. And I believe in 2009 they had a couple years ago they had 72 billion in reserves, and they're up to 125 billion now. So they've upped their reserves, and they decided to put, what is that? Yeah, 3% of 125 billion. So they can still add a lot more to their gold reserves. Now the thing with India, making that move in June 2009, they spent 6.7 billion on the gold, and they've probably made over $2 billion by now. That was around 1,080, I believe, the price of gold. So we're up above 1,500 now. So, look what India was able to accomplish. So I just wanted to make note of the fact that you have some big players as far as gold reserves, with U.S. being the biggest, 8,133 tons. I'd like to see that. I've done videos. I don't even know if that's in Fort Knox or it's, they've swapped it out to other countries. Who knows what's going on with that? That's 72% of our reserves is in gold. Well, we haven't had an audit in 50 years. There's never been an independent audit in 80 years. I mean, what's going on? There's something fishy going on there, and we should know where our gold is. They took it away from us in 1933. We should know if we have our gold there. That's this country's gold. If you're an American in this country, in the U.S., and mine gold, that's our gold. We should know what's going on. It's ridiculous. People running this country, they just can get away with this without even just showing us our gold, not walking out with one. You need to weigh and assay every dang bar in Fort Knox, or wherever it's at. A lot of it was below the World Trade Center. Anyway, that's another topic. So Italy's got 2,400 tons. That's 67% of their reserves. Germany's got 68% of their reserves in gold. France has got 65% of their reserves in gold. The Netherlands, 55% of their reserves. And Portugal's got 82% of their reserves in gold. People are saying, well, heck, why don't you sell some of that gold, try and get yourself out of some of that, severe leverage mess you're in the debt, the huge debt problem. Get rid of some of your gold and pay off some of your debts. So Russia's 811 tons that they've doubled the last few years, 7%. So they got some room to move up there. Now, I really want to touch on this recent, a week ago's news article. Mexico bought 93.3 tons. Thailand added 18.8 tons. I'm sorry. Russia added 18.8 tons. Thailand added 9 tons. So Thailand's 9.3 tons they just added brought them up to 108. It's only 3% of their reserves. They could add another 100 tons. And the countries that could make some real big waves here coming up in the next year would be if Denmark was to make a large purchase. They have 66 tons, only 3% of their reserves. Turkey's got 5% in gold, 116 tons. Singapore's got 127 tons. It's only 2.4% of their reserves. As the dollar continues on down, you might see some of these countries bringing up to 10%, 15%. A lot of them are down. Saudi Arabia is 2.8% with 322 tons. Now, supposedly they've been adding a lot and haven't been mentioned, like Iran. Brazil's got 33 tons, but it's not only 0.5% of their reserves. Malaysia could make a huge purchase. They got 36 tons, only 1.4% of their reserves. So a lot of these countries can make a huge purchase. And just before I go, I wanted to say something to me that I discovered. It was pretty incredible. China has taken their reserves, I think, from like 300-400 up past 1,000, or a little over 1,000 from what they've stated. Now, I did a video where they stated they had over 2,000 something. I mean, I think that might have been someone who went and updated Wikipedia, showing what they really had, and then they took it down like within 12 hours of when I did my video. So, I believe China has way more, but they don't want to let out, how much they've been buying. They'll push the price up and then they'll have to pay a higher price. But China, with over 1,054 metric tons, it's only 1.6% of their reserves. So if they wanted to take that up to 6.4%, they would have to purchase about 4,000 tons, which is 2.5% of all the gold ever mined in the history of the world. They estimate that at 165,000 tons. So if they want to move up, China, they have the largest reserves in the world. They want to move that up to 6% in gold, 6.4% in gold. They need to go out into the open market and purchase 2.5% of the entire amount of gold that's ever been mined in the history of the world.